It's a rogue. How did that hit me? You're dead, buddy. Oh my god, that was sick. That was pretty sick. Dark and darker. This game has taken a hold of me for a long while. Longer than I'd like to admit. And in this video, I'm gonna define the why behind that. You know, what makes this game so interesting? As well as talk about something I don't see nearly enough people talking about, but the art in this game, and emulating that art style to make my own piece of art that would fit in the game world. First of all, this game is slow. The learning curve of previous games I've played to this was much like Dark Souls. Not directly in the gameplay, but how someone might feel when adapting to this kind of play style. Just like the transitional shift that you have to make to all of your previous game knowledge. If you've never played Dark and Darker before, let me fill you in. Dark and Darker is a first-person dungeon crawler game. You can choose from a variety of classes and choose perks or abilities that fit your playstyle. The game centers around the player going into the dungeon with friends or alone and making it out with as much loot as possible. But if you die, like, all your shit's gone, so there's that. This is what we in the business call an extraction shooter, but without the shooter part and more just nerd shit. Just tons of nerd. All the combat is physics-based, meaning that your hammer really does exist in the game world. If you're swinging it, you could get stuck on a wall, or you can break your friend's kneecaps if you're not careful.
How about you take that? How about you take that too? How about you take that too? How about you take one more?
Now, all this is super hard for a new player to grasp, unless you're me, because, you know, just everything just comes so easy to me just because I'm super. Making the game feel really slow. Once you get a handle on the movement and combat, it's very rewarding. I see a very bright future for this game, honestly, and there's a lot of depth in the melee combat, although they should fix shields, because you can send your sword through a shield, and it just teleports through the shield and still hits you, but I digress. I'm a shield fanboy. The slowness and learning curve of this game is pretty refreshing after playing something like Overwatch or other fast-paced games. This can be a drawback though, because, you know, you gotta be super vigilant when you're playing this game. Anyone could be around any corner. You gotta think. You have to actually think. When some people just want to turn their brain off, and that's perfectly fine when playing a game. You know, go back to Overwatch. Monsters. Okay. The basic mobs in this game can be deadly. And I've died to a little goblin more times than I'd like to admit, to be honest.
I killed him. I'm almost gonna die to a mob. I'm dead to mobs.
The monsters in Dark and Darker range from skeletons to giant demons and difficult bosses. Without proper positioning and aggro management, it sounds very corporate, you will get wrecked by these guys. Or you can just cheese the harder ones like I do. Just a demon is worst. It's foiled by a conveniently placed ledge. The monsters have set attack patterns though, and eventually if you get really good, you can either outplay them or get around them, you know, dodging, weaving, uppercut, left hook. But every good player is subject to an inconvenient mob block when fighting a player, which really sucks. And what a convenient segue that is. Players, okay? Players are more often than not a much bigger threat than mobs. This is due to the fact that they can have a myriad of different spells and abilities. I'm cooking. Dude, the guy who wrote this script is actually cooking, like for real. And that can be super daunting for a new player to learn. If you're playing the game for the first time and get landmined by a rogue, you'd probably get pretty discouraged, I'm gonna be honest. The main point I'm trying to illustrate here is that the difficulty and uniqueness is what makes the game fun and rewarding, but I can't stress enough how it gives me the feeling of learning a Souls game for the first time. But once those first 10,000 million hours of learning the mechanics are up, the fun of building off-meta characters and combos with a duo or trio adds a whole new element, and lets you apply your knowledge of different classes in new ways. Or you could become a super sweaty high roller player, and get those sweet leaderboard rewards at the end of wipe. Also, that's another thing. The game wipes all your items after a certain amount of months. Something my friends often clown on me for, because, you know, it's just, I'm not coping. I actually I liked grinding for 12 hours to get my ruby armor, okay? I actually like, and it's for the people. It's a necessary evil, because it keeps all the players at a relatively even playing field. I'm not coping. I swear. Now let's talk about something I don't see enough people talking about, like I said before. The art for the loading screens in this game is real nice, as well as the vendor portrait, which is what I'm going to be doing for you. They give a lot more added depth to the game while just sitting in a loading screen. Look at this deer, for example. Just look at that thing. I don't even think this is in the game, but is it cool? Goddamn right it is. A lot of them just make your mind wander and think about what else lies in the dungeon. I wasn't able to track down who the artist is, but I got the name Chohija from, I'm butchering that, but I'm not 100% sure on the validity of this Reddit comment section, so please let me know in the comments. Alright, for this half of the video, I'm going to be creating my own painting inspired by the loading screens and portraits. I've had the idea of doing my fighter character as a vendor, so let's hop right into my painting software, and I'm gonna show you how I worked that out. I did, however, do a loading screen, and I will talk about that later. I'm not going to finish it in this video, but the vendor portrait did come out very well, so boom. Bit of a side tangent. I've seen some debate on whether it's AI art or not, but I feel like these people don't know what they're talking about, because, you know, is it possible? Maybe. But to me it looks far too crisp and doesn't have any of that strange artifacting, impossible angles, or bad hands. You can even see most of the brush strokes. I think whenever someone sees anything digital, they often rush to AI. But I believe these paintings aren't paintings per se, but they're digitally done, so that could contribute to why some people think it's AI. But, you know, it's Reddit. This shouldn't even be in the video. Okay, you can kind of see me drawing the skull here. I'm just sketching it in and using my reference images, trying to emulate them as best I could. I started with a circle. I used the Loomis head method, if anyone's wondering. Having references is the #1 thing. You can see me trying to get the horns in there, just trying to match it. Looking at the actual game, the vendor portraits in the game, and I'm just trying to get that Barbuda helm right. It's an odd mass to get your head around, pun intended. And then once I did that, I just kind of put a shield behind him, gave him some nice broad shoulders with armor on it, and just kept blocking it in, you know, trying to get the whole composition together. Then I started doing some underpainting. Starting with the darks, I'm just trying to get a bunch of different color variety in there. That really helps to make it look like it's hand painted, like painted with acrylic, as if you have a bunch of different colors going together. There's me trying to get the metallics down. I'm looking at some references of actual armor, and I think the big positive with this painting is the helmet. I think the helmet looks the best. I think getting the actual screenshot in game of my character's heads looking slightly to the right really helped. The skull, it took a little while. Like you can see me, I'm working on it a lot here. Just the skull was not looking great for a little while. I really just like to block in the extreme lights and the extreme darks, especially if it's armor. You tend to have a really dark shadow next to a really bright highlight. Then there's some smoothing in there that I was doing, and then I'm adding a bunch of bright white highlights in there as well. And yeah, it's just about trying to get as accurate to the game as possible while still being as close to the art style that's in the game. And I think it came out pretty well. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think I completely botched this? Let me know in the comments. I did a little bit of off-camera mining there, you can tell. And I do a little later. I didn't get it on camera, I just forgot to record. But the colors in the background got a lot more desaturated because I redid the background. Here I am lining up all of the weaponry that he's going to be holding. I did that last, just to sort of, I don't know. I think I just had that idea later. I was like, oh, it would look better if he was holding the shield because it frames it better. And then I got this sword coming through there, leaning it on his shoulder. And then there is kind of another jump from this part of the drawing and later on when I finish it, because I was looking at the the mouth, and I wasn't too happy with the face, so I went and redid the face. But you can kind of get the idea from this. I just went back and kind of took a step back. Like, I kind of felt like I rushed it too much. You can see here I kind of ruined the face. It was better before. Here it is. Here's the final product. Another thing I wanted to add is just, if you really look at the painting, the background and a lot of the highlights are very warm. They're very warm colors. The highlights are kind of more desaturated than the background, obviously, but they're very warm. And then the deep parts of the armor are very cold blues because the bright points are very orange. So it's a complementary color palette, and it adds a lot more contrast. And I think that's used a lot in the artwork. So I think I picked up on that subconsciously, and I'm just realizing now. But another thing to add. All right, let me talk about my idea behind the loading screen painting. So look here. Here's some footage of me doing the sketches. So I actually did probably four sketches. I don't remember, but every one of them I ended up just hating them. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. And then after like 7 hours, I ended up on a design that I liked, like composition I liked, and you know, here it is. I didn't finish the good sketch. Like, you can see some of it is still pretty rough sketch, but you can get the idea. There's a elf ranger in the foreground. We got the wizard guy, and he's in the corner. His light is going to be beaming up onto the elf guy. Barbarians falling over the deck, and it's set in the pirate ship, and there's pirate skeletons because this is something the devs teased in a teaser thing. They were like, hey, we're going to make an underwater map, and it's coming next wipe. And we're all like, oh my god. And so I was like, okay, I'll make a painting about it, like one of the loading screens. But, you know, let me know in the comments if you want me to actually finish this, because I think doing the vendor portrait was a much better idea, because I could spend a lot more time working on the face, making it good, and because it's just one subject, right? But painting multiple people is very hard for me, at least, because I'm not that great at painting faces yet. So, you know, give me a holler. I'll be upstairs asleep. What movie is that from? Anyways.